Welcome to the Microscapes unit, where we're going to focus on pen and ink techniques. That's going to be the focus of this unit. But what we're really going to do also is focus on composition and how you can create a balanced, rhythmic, unified composition. In this workshop, we're going to look at the micro within the natural environment. We're going to go outside and you're going to start to look at the discarded elements on the ground, something that you might walk past. And instead of walking past it, we're going to pick it up and we're going to use it for your artwork. So let's take a look at the ground, look at the leaves, seeds, barks, twigs, grass, and other fallen debris. We're going to collect, select, and organize it into a collage. This collage is going to be used as your display board. So this display board is something you're going to look at throughout the project. We're going to draw straight from this display board. We're not going to take a picture of it. We're going to draw the objects as they are right in front of us. So pick something that is interesting to you. When I'm going out onto my walks, what I do is I look for things that have interesting textures, interesting shapes, and I pick them up. And then I find things that have similar shapes, similar textures, because then I can repeat it throughout the composition. And when I repeat it, that's how I create some interesting balance in my project. So as you can see, the green leaves in this project are kind of used in a similar way. The green leaf at the top kind of juts out from the rectangle, whereas the green leaf from the bottom does the same. They have a similar shape to them. So finding things that are similar are going to be really good once we get back into the classroom and create your display board. But what you also want to do is to find things that are different. So they have these wheat kind of pieces that they have that are very different from the shapes of those green solid leaves. They have the more hairy texture to them. So find things that are different and similar and grab as much as you can so you don't have to go back outside. Grab more than you would even think you might need so that when we get upstairs you can move things around and experiment a little bit. So what we're going to do is take a look outside into your natural objects. Also, just make sure that they're always discarded. They're falling on the ground so that we're not interfering with the natural landscape. Be careful not to add too many natural objects because remember, we're going to be focusing on drawing each little detail. And if you do this, it's going to take a lot of time. And we really want you to not feel rushed, just to take your time and really focus on those pen techniques and laying things out. So this seems a little bit too cluttered, and that's what we're talking about when we're trying to design a really solid composition. We don't want it to be too cluttered. We want the viewer's eye to move throughout the composition. So after you create your collage, you're going to adhere it all to that display board and we're going to draw right from it. So we're going to use tape and glue and adhere it, and then you'll have it sitting up on our tabletop easels, and you'll be looking at it like this and drawing. Remember, what we're going to do is we're going to start to focus on a detailed drawing. So first only pencil and very, very light. And you're going to start to review those observational drawing skills. From there, when you have your light pencil drawing, we're going to start to add all of these different pen techniques. Remember, we've talked about cross-hatching and hatching and stippling, but you can also start to incorporate some pen techniques of your own that you've designed to show the textures of it. So this wood grain is a really good example. As you're adding those pen techniques to your drawings, you're also going to think about adding a little accent area of color. So you want to think about what kind of small area you'd like to choose to add that color into. This area is completely chosen by you. Where do you want the focus of your project to be? What would make a nice little accent? What areas look best if you added color to them? You know, do you want to add some background color to that section? Those are all your choice. And I love to see the different ways that students decide to add this accent color. Sometimes it's in a circular form, sometimes it's in a rectangular form. It's all up to you, completely your choice. Just to review a little bit more about those color matching, color mixing skills, we're going to be using your Prismacolors during this project. So here's an example of a student's project. She has a little bit more of open areas than we might like, but looking at those details with the pen technique inside of the plant life, She has taken a lot of time to add those pen technique details. We can also see how she's balanced them throughout the composition, repeated them, but also added a few that make it look different as well. She added 2 accent color areas, and in those accent color areas, the textures and the colors and the blending that hasn't been ignored. The student took a lot of time in her pen techniques, and she didn't want the accent color to overwhelm it. So what she did is she added just the line work there. And I think it adds a really, really nice accent to her work. But we can also see that the real strength in this project is how she chose her pen techniques. You want to choose your pen techniques for whatever is appropriate for that particular object. So this student chose stippling. And when she added stippling to those leaves, she did them in different ways. She created shadows to enhance some of the veins in the leaves, and in another leaf she might use it to kind of ignore some of those the veins of the leaf. So I think that her strength really is how she chose the stippling within those leaves. This particular student decided that the appropriate pen technique for the bark would be more of a hatching, wood grain, and that worked out really well. So as you can see, if they chose stippling, it wouldn't have worked as well to show that wood grain, but the hatching works best. So it's all about what you decide and the choices you make into where you're going to apply the different pen techniques that we've learned. You could see that they've also added color in a very different way. This is more of a rectangle. And they also wanted to add kind of a cloudy sky in the background. I think this project went really, really well. You can also see the way that the lines work within the composition. She has a diagonal large object going across, and then another one crosses over. I think that helps the viewer's eye move around the canvas without it being too cluttered. So if you find a larger object like this wood piece that this student found, use it in an interesting way in your composition so that it doesn't overpower it. You can overlap the other pieces of natural objects that you find on top, and it should all work together really, really well. So as we're looking back, I think we are ready to begin our meditative nature walk. Remember to find natural objects that speak to you. Look at the different textures, shapes, and lines in those natural objects that are around you. Arrange them in an interesting way that brings balance, unity, and rhythm to your composition. Use different pen techniques as necessary for your objects. Look at the different way this student used pen techniques. We can find stippling, we can find hatching, we can find cross-hatching. But we can also see that she's created some of her own techniques to show the unique textures of the plant life. Use all of these different colors also to add an accent, okay? Adding the color to help your viewer's eye move throughout the composition. So I think we're ready to begin. So let's take our nature walk.